So I'm back again. It's now the next night. So yesterday I got the tree out, set the tree up, positioned it over in the corner by the front door. Now I've moved it into this side of the doorway into the kitchen by the sofa over here. And this is where it's going to stay because this is where it fits. And that's okay. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I put ribbon on my tree. So this is kind of a little bit of a tutorial. So this video hopefully is going to be a couple of tips for you. So for me, the way I start my Christmas design is I actually do a mood board. And so I'm going to put up a couple pictures about what my mood board for this year looks like. I do one every year because I find that the mood boards really help to, you know, give me a direction for where I'm going to go and what I want to what kind of colors I want to pick. And I've got Christmas all over the place. Like I've got all my Christmas stuff out of the attic, and it's like Christmas just kind of like exploded all over my living room. And that's usually how it goes for me, because I like to kind of rifle through all of my stuff and see what I have so that I can pull it all out, and then I know what I'm going to work with, and it kind of just grows from at that point there. So what I did this year is I kind of came up with this theme based on this picture that I had from probably 20 years ago. And it's like a Paris. I'm looking at it. I put it up on my wall. It's the Champs-Élysées, and it's a Palais des Glaces. I'm terrible, so if you're French, please forgive my pronunciation. It's awful, I know. But it's like a magazine cover from 1896 that I had in a print form from a million years ago when I had my first apartment, I think it was. Anyway, I decided this year that I wanted to bring back some colors because in past years, the last couple years actually, like my hat, I've got a little Santa hat on today. I'm going to put my little pom-pom over on this side. I get lost in thoughts sometimes too, you have to forgive me. But I decided after a couple years of having a very neutral Christmas theme that I was going to bring back some color. Now, I'm not a big fan of colored lights. I don't like the multicolor lights. I like white lights. I think they're classic. But this year I'm going to add in lots of different colors with bulbs and ornaments and baubles and shiny things and all kinds of good stuff that you're going to see, once this tree is all put together. And each year I kind of come up with this theme, as I was saying earlier, about how I pull all my colors together and I put it into a mood board so that if I do have to get anything new, which usually I don't, but if I do have to get a couple new things, I know what I'm working with. I know what my color scheme is, so I don't have to like go willy-nilly and try and find different colors and try to pull it in without really thinking about it, because I like to be very purposeful when I'm out shopping for Christmas stuff, decor and whatnot, because I don't like to get kind of caught up in all this stuff. There's so much stuff. If you walk into any store, you're going to get overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed. So having this mood board really kind of keeps me in line with what I need to do and what I'm there to accomplish. And so that's really the purpose of the mood board. But this year I decided to go with this sort of ribbon that is a little bit more kind of fleur-de-lis. I've had this in my stash for a long time. It looks a little Parisian to me, and that's kind of why I decided to go with it, because I wanted something kind of fleur-de-lis-ish, and this is about the closest thing I had. I had thought maybe that I'd like to do a darker ribbon, and I think that the ornaments that I'm going to put on are going to give it enough color, and I'm not going to have to do that. So I think I'm going to keep the accoutrements, ribbons, and all the other sprays and stuff I'm going to add to it kind of more simple, more kind of like beigey white, not bright white, but beigey white. And this is a good start because the background, of course, is kind of like a beigey white. It's not a super duper white. And I think that that's going to look really good. So I'm going to have a sip of my hot cocoa. Can't have Christmas decorating without cocoa, right? So what I do, here we go with the ribbon. I just usually have it on a spool, and I just throw the spool on the floor, keep one end, and I basically grab the front, the top of it like this. So the top of it's sort of an unfinished top, as you can see here. And I start at the very tip top of my tree, and I find a branch that is kind of a skinnier branch, and I do a wrap around it. I sort of like wrap it just around it really quickly. So it isn't anything, I don't tie it in a knot or anything. I just take that little end that I had and I hold the length in my right hand and I just pull it around and I just sort of give it a tug, and it stays pretty good. Okay, So that's the first thing. Now the second thing I do is I go down a couple of branches in about the same line. I try to do things, see, I like to do things that my ribbon, I like to have it linear instead of like horizontal. I'm not a big tinsel person. I'm not a big garland person. I do like ribbon, and I do wired ribbon, so you always have to remember to get wired ribbon. Don't do unwired ribbon or non-wired ribbon or all of that, because it won't work. You need the wire to give it a little bit of stability. So then you pinch the center of the wire and you wrap it around again, and you have a little bit of a loop, sort of like a little loop up here. I've got a couple close-ups coming up. You'll see in a second here. I go down a couple more branches and I do the same thing over again. Give me a loop. I go down a couple branches. I do the same thing again. You got a loop. All the while, I kind of fluff as I go. Sometimes I push them and pull them in different directions. Sometimes I just like them kind of linear. My tree is tall and skinny, so I think that I'm just going to do things in a very straight line with it, and that's going to look really nice. But you have a little bit of slack in each one of these loops that you're making. So a little bit of space, you're pulling it out, gives it a little bit of dimension. Okay, so it's kind of like it's sort of cascading down the tree. Does that make any sense? So then I do this again, go down a couple more branches, give it a little bit of a tug like that. Again, a couple more branches, and boom, boom, boom. A little bit of a loop, go down a couple more branches again, and I give it a little bit of a loop. Sorry that my back is to you. Don't be insulted. I'm concentrating. And then I go down a couple more branches, and I give it a little bit of a loop. Sometimes, when I get down toward the middle of the tree, my loops get a little bit bigger. Sometimes, you know, it's not like that. But whatever I do on this first row, I will mimic all the way around the tree. So I will do this whole thing all the way around the tree, and I'll probably put about, for a tree my size, which is about 32 inches wide at the base, I think that I'll put probably about six rows of ribbon all the way around. So it's like stripes all the way around. So again, you're going to go down, you're going to find that, so I got to give myself a little bit more slack here. You're going to find that branch, you're going to wrap it around, and I've already noticed here that my ribbon has kind of started to, it almost looks like it's going to spiral down the tree. That's kind of the effect that it's going to give you. You can kind of see right here. It sort of almost looks like it's spiraling down the tree. I think that's a really, really pretty effect. You can barely see me, but I'm going to get down here on the ground, and I'm going to do this again. I'm just going to take my ribbon and sort of keep it in line again with where I'm going with stuff, and I'm going to grab a branch toward the middle of the tree. So that's another thing I should probably clarify, is that I'm grabbing these branches sort of in the middle of the tree. I'm not doing this on the end. I'm sort of burying my ribbon toward the middle of the tree, and that's going to give you the illusion that this ribbon is sort of just like, kind of like almost just appearing out of the tree, which is a really cute little way to do it. Then, when you get down to the very bottom, I'm going to see if I can move us down a little bit further down this way. Sorry, don't want to make anyone motion sick, but I'm going to pull us down so that we're kind of like in line with the bottom of the tree now. So we got to go down a little bit further. All right, so we're about right there. Okay, now you grab a pair of scissors and you do a little cut. So basically, I like my ribbon to be in the little V at the bottom. So what you do to do the V, how you get the V is that you fold your ribbon in half. Okay, and then you take your scissors or your shears, if you're using fabric shears, and you cut up And that gives you a V, a cute little V at the bottom. So that just kind of finishes it off. Then I have all the rest of this to start my next row. And I can usually get, on a tree this size, I can usually get about maybe two rows. This is a 7-foot tree, 7.5-foot tree. I can usually get about 2 rows of ribbon down the side of the tree before I have to start another spool. So that is how you put the ribbon on a tree. Sometimes I like to fuss around with it a little bit. The way that this looks down here looks a little messy, so maybe I'll go back in and kind of fuss around with it a little bit. This might be, yeah, maybe we'll do it on this one here instead of the one that I had it on. I'm just trying to kind of keep things as even as possible. So there, that's a little bit better, because then it kind of keeps everything in line with what's going on here. And don't be afraid to move the ribbon, move the branches around, whatever you have to do in order to make this work, because that will do it. So there we go. Sometimes even at the bottom. Now this makes it so that the tail, because I corrected the way that this goes, sometimes I have to sort of crinkle up my ribbon a little bit more then, and that just gives me a little bit longer of a tail at the bottom. I don't know if I'll leave it that way, kind of like it just sort of hangs down a little bit more. I might go back in and trim it up just to kind of make it a little bit more consistent with everything else. And it always depends on how much ribbon I have on the next spools, so that you know, if I run out of the length that I need, I have to shorten this up a little bit, and that's how to do it. So that is how you put ribbon on a tree. And I'll be back probably tomorrow to show you another idea of how to style the top of the tree. Here's a little sneak peek. This is just a couple little sprays I have. I've decided to put these on the top of my tree. They're a nice kind of like goldish color. And to give you a little sneak peek, another thing I do for my mood board is I will go and buy wrapping paper so that all of my gifts kind of coordinate with my color scheme for the tree too. So this year I've got like a royally blue. This is very Parisian, kind of like a burgundy red with stars. I love this. This came from Joanne Fabrics. And then at the Dollar Tree I found this lovely green that has a kind of like poinsettias and some holly berries and things on it, but it's got a really pretty hunter green background and the word joy in gold. And I just think that I like the way that these three play together. So that is a sneak peek of the color scheme. So that's what you can kind of expect with the ornaments. I think it's going to be spectacular. And once I get a little bit more going with this ribbon for tomorrow, I will be back to show you how I do some more trimming. But I'm going to finish up my hot cocoa for tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow. So it's the next day, and it's a little bit gloomy outside. I'm looking out the window. Wish it was a little brighter, but it's not, so that's okay. As you can see, I finished up my ribbon on the tree, so it kind of all cascades down, sort of like what I was talking about yesterday. And if you have blank spots, like there's some blank spots in here, don't worry about that kind of stuff, because ornaments, lots and lots of ornaments. Don't forget, this is just layer number 1. There's probably going to be about 4 or 5 layers on this tree, and that's what's going to make it spectacular. But today what I'd like to talk to you about is extension cords. Now, lots of houses have outlets in weird little places. So for my house, I don't have outlets everywhere. Some of the newer builds have outlets all over the place. You've got them, you know, kind of going down the wall all over the place. My house isn't like that. So I have to have an extension cord for a lot of places in my house. Now, luckily, I have a plug that's right behind my tree, right on the other side of the couch here, sofa. And I can plug it in there, and that's fine. But it's one of those things where it's like an aesthetic thing. So for me, I like to match the color of my cord to the color of my floor. So my floors are dark brown, and having a dark brown extension cord gives me the chance to kind of have it disappear and blend into the background. So I don't like to have things that are utilitarian jump out at you. It's just, you know, an aesthetic thing. It's kind of like a little finishing touch. Plus it makes the tree look like it's magically lit up, and that, you know, how can this be happening? The tree, you know, doesn't even have a cord. But, you know, you can get cords, like if your floors are lighter, for example, sometimes they have like a light beige color. If you have like a lighter wood floor, cord that you can get. Sometimes you can find black ones if your floors are really dark, like an ebony or an espresso floor. Um, you can have white. So like if you have a lot of white trim and you want to put the cord close up to the trim and your trim is white, then maybe get a white cord so that it disappears. My trim in this living room is darker, and it's fine that it's a darker cord. So I like to have a dark cord. So that's my tip number 2, kind of matching up your cords with what's going on with your tree. The next thing I would like to talk about is the way to kind of light up the tree. That's a simple way to do things from your phone. So smart plugs. Smart plugs are awesome. I got this one off of Amazon, and I will link it in below down in the description so that you can kind of check it out. It was not expensive at all, but it's nice because it actually works with your smartphone device, and it's got a little power switch on the side, and you basically can plug it in and set it up the way you would do it on your telephone, and you can actually control your Christmas lights around the entire house in any room in the house with these plugs. Now you get 4 of them in a package, and I just got the 4 of them because I didn't really need any more than that. I've actually only used 1 of them so far, and that's just for the tree. So the other ones I'm going to probably put around different places, probably maybe over in my hall, and then I have a little credenza kind of off to the side on the far end of the wall. Oops, there goes Marky. And then I can control all of them from my phone. And you can set a timer on them, which is awesome too. So I have my lights go on at 5 o'clock because it gets really dark here at 5 o'clock now. So all of my lights go on at that point. So it's awesome. And I recommend these very, very highly. They will help you out quite a bit. So next up, I have sprays. Now my tree is about 7.5 feet tall. I've got about 8 foot ceilings, 8 foot tall ceilings. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to take a couple of these sprays that I've had forever, and I'm going to give my tree a little bit more of a oomph at the top. So it's going to be a little bit taller than what you see here. I want it to almost touch the ceiling because I'm not going to do a traditional topper on this tree this year. I'm actually going to do ribbons and bows and sprays and all kinds of stuff up there. So I don't really need to have room for a star or an angel or anything like that up there. So here we go. Let's get into this one and see how this turns out. And you know, sometimes it turns out great, sometimes it doesn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top of my tree and I'm going to give this a little bit of a scoop down, right down the middle of the tree here on one side. And then on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing so that you can kind of see that my tree literally almost touches the very top of the ceiling. So now I'm going to, I have a, I don't know if you can see this, but I have a black twist tie. Now these are great because you get all these twist ties in electronics. Any kind of device that you would get usually has some sort of a black twist tie in it, right? So what I do is I keep all those black twist ties. I have a little container in one of my drawers here in the living room, and I put all of my little cords things in there, and I put all of my twist ties and stuff in there too, because this is a perfect use for those leftover twist ties. Because what else are you going to do with them? Throw them out? Why would you bother? It's great because, I'm going to bend this down just a little bit. I might want to even take another twist tie and stick it up toward the top, or I'll bend that down. Stick this one out just a smidge this way. I might need to do another twist tie on the side of it over here. I might also need to kind of fan some things out. I might actually even want to take a few more branches and put them up here to make it even a little bit more full. So we'll have to see how that's going to go. But I'm going to fuss around with this a little bit, but I wanted to show you this really quick because I think that this is an important step. It just kind of gives your tree a little bit of an oomph at the top. and it just makes it a little bit taller and makes it so that it is going to be a little bit more impressive. Now all of that space up at the top, of course, is going to have different things on it, so I will have ornaments up there too, but I'll also have things like the sprays that will kind of come out this way and that way too. So fear not, it is a work in progress, but it will be spectacular. Now the last thing I'm going to add to the top of the tree are these really pretty sprays. Now this is a kind of like a beigey cream colored white. It's got lots of frosted glitter on it. It looks very wintry, and I decided that I wanted to put them up on the top of the tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer them around. I did 3 of them already. This is the 4th one here. Pull my step stool out over here to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So go up here, and what I do is just carefully kind of like insert it into sort of like down the center of the tree. I want it so that it actually kind of is not touching the ceiling, but just about touching the ceiling, because I want that drama. I like the height. Gives me a little bit of drama up there. And again, all these little holes that you see, they're going to be filled with ornaments anyway. So that is what I'm thinking of for the top of the tree. So as you can see, no tree topper, just something a little bit more kind of dramatic looking. And I think that that's really pretty. I'll of course fuss around with it like I fuss around with everything else for about, you know, a couple of hours or so probably, because that's how I do it. And after that, then I'll start adding in some ornaments and things. So maybe we'll get into that tonight. I'm not sure, but stick around. We'll find out. Yes, I have a bouquet of icy picks and some gold vintage looking stuff. Now I got these at a thrift store, so I have no idea how old they are. They're I'm sure quite old. So these gold little picks are just attached to these icy picks with twist ties. So again, twist ties, twist ties, twist ties. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these up. I'm not sure exactly even how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure out how I want to put them up there, and we'll just play around for a minute just to kind of see where I want to kind of position them. I'd like them toward the top because I think that they look really nice up here. I also think that, well, I don't know if I want to put them, I think I want to have them kind of cascading out because I like that look. Now I have 5 of these, and I have 4 of the other things here. So what that tells me is that I kind of want to go down a little bit further into the tree, just because in order to space them out evenly, I want to have them kind of stuck into the tree. Now the nice thing about these is that they are really secure. So they kind of, wherever you put them, they sort of stay, because they're almost like little, the spikes on the greens will actually kind of hang on to the other greens. So it's sort of like a burr. If you've ever been out on a hike and you got a burr on your pants or your shoes, that's sort of what this does. And it's just going to give me a chance to put them where they need to go and have them kind of spaced out evenly. So I just want to keep things kind of even. So I'm going to stick this one over here. And what I'm doing is I'm actually pulling the ribbon out in front of it too. So I'm kind of grabbing onto the middle of the tree. I'm just giving it a good shove so that it stays in there nice and secure for me. So then when I'm putting other things on here, it's not going to pull and have things kind of come tumbling down. Now I'm going to scoot around this way, and I'm going to put one right here so that it's in line with the one on the other side. And the last one will go right, come here, the last one will go right over here. And it's going to hide a lot of, you know, what's going on sort of behind the scenes up here. Give it a good shove, get it all in there. move my ribbon out in front of it again. Oops, this one's a little higher than what I want it to be. So this is what I'm talking about, fussing around with things. And this will definitely take me some time. It always does. But when I get it to where I want it to be, it really is, it's really quite beautiful. So, and then before with the other sprays that I put up earlier, I just kind of spread them out a little bit more so that they're just sort of kind of coming out in different ways. It's a little chaotic on the top. There's a lot of movement at the top of the tree, and I'm okay with that. I actually kind of like that because it gives it a little bit more interest. It's not so linear. And there you go. That is how you top off the top of the tree. So you can see it's getting a little bit more busy toward the top, and that's the whole point. So I'm back again. It's another day, and my next tip for you is to get yourself a rotating tree base. Now you probably saw this in a previous segment that I was doing a little earlier. I had it rotating around a little bit, but I wanted to kind of save the surprise for you until now. So what we're doing is we put this on a rotating base, and it just makes it so much easier, especially in smaller spaces and in tight spots, having a tree that rotates around instead of having to like crawl around it and to scoot around it to kind of get ornaments and things on it. You're going to want to have your tree rotating so that you can basically, you know, decorate as you will. So the tree moves and you don't have to move around it. So that's the nice part about it. So, you know, when you go to put things on, like I like to put, you know, bigger ornaments. So what I want to do is I want to start with some pine cones. So part of my color scheme, part of my idea for this year is to go glammy natural. It doesn't make much sense, but it's sort of like we're going back to 1896 Paris, France. That's kind of where the inspiration comes from. But, you know, back then they probably didn't have like crazy, you know, baubles and shiny things and glittered and all kinds of stuff. So I wanted to go with more natural things because I think that that is really going to make things a little bit more interesting on the tree. Gives it a little bit more texture and dimension. So when it comes to pine cones and things like that, the bigger ones, so big like this, I'll go down kind of like toward the bottom of the tree. I know you can't really see that, but you just sort of stick it in there. Let me see if I can find a smaller one. So here's a smaller pine cone to show you kind of what I'm talking about. So a smaller pine cone would go more kind of up toward the front of the tree, up to the top of the tree, I should say. And you can basically kind of stick those in there. And I do this and I put them in kind of like on an angle so that you can basically, here's one that's kind of a medium-sized one. I'll show you here. I'll put it in and I'll put it in on an angle. And that'll sort of go, whoops, let me see if I can. This is the fun part about the tree rotating around. Sometimes it goes a little faster than how I can put the ornaments on the tree, so that's an interesting thing. But, you know, you'll put them in and you'll sort of like put them on an angle so that they just sort of like hang in there, and they're really kind of cute. Now, let's go into some of the other ornaments that I got from different places. I got a couple of these as like a little bit of a haul. So these are vintage ornaments. I like the color, the blue. It's very pretty. So we're doing blue, red, and gold with some greens and some browns and all kinds of stuff. So it's really kind of based on this picture back here of this Paris print that I had. We talked about that earlier, so I'm not going to kind of harp on that. But blue isn't in the picture, and that's okay. Blue is just one of the other accent colors that I have in my room naturally. So I have like a rug. I'll insert a picture of the rug. So there's this rug that's in my living room and also my entryway. They're matching because it's sort of the same room, and I wanted things to be more consistent. So there's a little bit of like a gray blue in the rug, and that's kind of where I bring this in. So this is a little bit more of a saturated gray blue, but it's kind of a greeny blue. It hit the notes for me. So I wanted something a little bit more, you know, punctuated. So all of these little things will go up onto the tree. So basically, when I have a smaller ornament like this, I go up more so toward the top of the tree, and I'll stick that in there. I've got a couple more over here that are a little bit bigger. So basically I have these really pretty red ones that we talked about in another video. So I'm going to put those, because this is a little bit bigger, I'm going to stick this kind of down a little bit further into the tree. So basically it's going to give me, you know, a spot to put it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to redo that so that I can kind of go over here and Because it's a little bit bigger, I'm going to hang it on a bow like that, and it's sort of just going to be sort of out on the end. Now I will put these also more into the tree so that you have a little bit more dimension. You want to put bigger ornaments toward the bottom, but I have these really larger ornaments that are really pretty. We'll get into that in another segment. And I'll put those sort of more so into the middle of the tree so that they have a little bit of a presence. So it's kind of a nice little thing too. But that is basically how I will put the ornaments on the tree. I'm going to scoot along here and kind of work on it a little bit off camera, and I'll kind of show you and talk about the different things that I've done so that you can get an impression of how this all works. So, okay, so we'll see you in a little bit. So, okay, the tree is done. So I have all my ornaments on it. I might get some different reds too, because I feel like it might need just a little bit more red. But other than that, I'm very happy with the way it turned out. So I do have my golds, my blues, my some of the reds. I got some greens up in there too. Lots of different textures, lots of different colors, lots of different shapes, which is really the name of the game when it comes to decorating the tree. So we'll start at the top. So sorry about that. The tree at the top is a little bit more dramatic, and as we move down, it gets a little bit more calm. And there's lots and lots of colors, there's lots of textures, there's lots of personalized ornaments on it, and some goofy ones too. Got a Gwumpke up in there. And then I have down toward the bottom of the tree. So if I can scoot us down a little bit more slowly. Got a little Santa Claus hiding in the branches there behind the ribbon. And lots of ornaments that I made over the years. Lots of vintage ornaments, lots of ornaments from my grandparents, my mother, everybody else. So that is what we've got going on when it comes to the Christmas tree. I just think that it is really pretty. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. And hopefully, when we do the big reveal for the rest of the decorations, you'll see how it all ties together and looks appropriate. And that is what we got going on.